No, we're good. Okay, well, hello, Comic Jam Hawaii, and whoever else happens to
Hey.
stumble across this stream. Um, so we're waiting on a couple guests, but we do have Phil Ye with us. Say hi, Phil.
Hey.
Hi.
And John J. Murakami, who's going to
Hey, how's it?
help run the ship here. So the plan is to just kind of reminisce about the early days of San Diego Comic-Con. Now, Phil is one of the people that's been there almost from the beginning. I think 71
I
was
was
your
first one. I was
You
there.
were the first. Okay, so
Yeah, I was the first one.
So
My
August 1970.
my sister was there too. She always wants me to remind people. She was 10 years old. I was 15, going on 16. Maybe she was turning 11, but anyway. So my dad took us down to the first convention. It was 300 people, about 300 people. Jackie Estrada was there, and I don't think there were too many other female people.
Who are the big guests that year?
Well, the really big guest for the first one was Jack Kirby and Ray Bradbury. And, you can imagine 300 people. So we had time to really talk to these people. And when I went up to Ray Bradbury, who I admired because I read all his books as a kid, and I said, I want to be a writer, but I can't spell because I later learned I have dyslexia. But at the time, nobody heard of dyslexia. So I said to Ray, I want to be a writer. Ray says, go ahead, start writing, just write. Then I said, but I can't spell. And he said, no problem, there's editors. And
there you go.
Editors will also fix your correct your, grammar and everything. Yeah. So I said, wow, that's incredible. And so then I turned to Jack Kirby, who was sitting there. There was two guests, as I recall. And I said to Jack, my friend Shane Noguchi talked me into going to the convention.
Okay.
I didn't read comics other than Shane's comics. And I had a few. A friend of mine gave me his collection. So I said, I knew who Jack Kirby was, but I really didn't follow comic books. But I said to Jack, what college should I go to be a professional comic artist? And Jack Kirby said, there are no colleges. In 1970, there was. He says, just do it. So I started my own company. 3 months later, we're going to be 50 years old. I turned 16 in October, and we're going to be 50 this year. And I just started doing my own comics and doing publishing and newspapers and magazines, books, and never had a job.
Okay. Wait, hold on real fast. Hold on. I got a message from Alan saying that he's not seeing anything. Wait, hold on.
It's streaming.
Okay.
I have it open on my phone, so I know it's working.
Okay. All right. Okay, continue. So, so that's good.
So that was the first one for me. I came as a fan, and then the next year, 1971, I had a table, and I was already publishing little magazines and little stuff, and so we were behind the aisle, I guess.
About how many artists and vendors were there at that time?
As I recall, not very many. But the 300 people were at the first one.
No, that's true.
So it can't be maybe more than 20, I would imagine.
Wow.
And the next year, I think maybe we had 500 people. If Mark Evanier was here, he would tell you exactly.
I don't think I have any photos from 70, but here's let me see. I can pull up 73 to give you some idea what that looked like. And guys, I'm sharing my screen. Sorry. So this is 1973. You can see it wasn't.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so maybe.
This is like our early cons, the ones we had over here.
Yeah, it was just basically, as I recall, was just. I always say this, and Jackie Estrada corrects me, but basically it was teenage boys, as my memory recalls, mostly teenage boys, and I always joke who couldn't get dates.
Yeah.
All right.
I think Trina and Steve are here.
I'm gonna put you on hold just for a second, Phil. We do have Trina and Steve Leialoha.
Yay!
Steve Leialoha. Let me add them to the stream.
We
Welcome.
are.
Happy Halloween.
Hey!
Hey,
Good to see everybody.
So we haven't got too deep into it. Phil was just telling us about his first experience because he was there as an attendee in 1970.
Wow.
I was trying to remember when I first met Phil. It's all so hazy. But my first San Diego Con was in I've already lost track. I was at the second one.
71.
I guess it was
71.
71.
Okay, 71.
oh, really?
So I probably met you somewhere around there, but I do remember going to your gallery like in, I don't know, 71 or 72, something like that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Whenever you had your
yeah.
gallery.
Yeah, we opened it in
Go ahead.
76 when I opened the gallery.
Okay, so that shows you how much I'm remembering.
Well,
So,
it doesn't matter.
so whatever you were doing, whatever you were doing, but I met you in the early 70s at the very least. So
Yes.
anyway,
So a long time ago.
a long time ago. So,
But a lifetime friendship. There you go.
sure, let's call it.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. So, but
Alan Lowe just wrote and just said, "Hi, Phil, Steve, and Trina." And
Hi.
Alan likes Trina's hat. So,
Thank
Yeah.
you.
My wife likes your hat too.
Thank you.
I like it. It's a good day for that sort of.
yeah.
Well,
So
I'm wearing my best Halloween Hawaiian shirt. So
There you go.
oh. Hey, did you have
It's
a
a-
party or are you having a party for
My
Halloween?
daughter's having a party because my granddaughter can't go trick or treating. So
Yeah.
she's having a party and
Oh.
we're part of it.
and they live downstairs, so it's handy for us.
Oh, that's great.
Great.
Okay, well, if you need to hop out anytime, we understand. So you might
We
have
have
to.
plenty of time. Plenty of
Oh,
time.
great.
Now, here's
So-
the thing: we don't have a time limit, so you guys can reminisce as much as you want or as little as you want.
Okay.
Let me bring up the photos that I pulled off the web, just because those are like the first maybe 3 years of convention, and that might give people some ideas. So I'm going to bring those photos back up. And if you have anything you want to comment on,
Huh.
so these are from the first 3 years of con.
Who are these
I
people?
didn't come to the Comic-Con till 77. So
Oh,
this is all before my,
Which is still a while ago. but,
yes, God, yes.
Oh, wow.
Can't quite
It's
tell.
Nevy's changed.
Yeah,
It's not as crowded.
that's true. That's true.
Oh, this is nice.
Yes, the first one
This
I
is-
went to was called the Golden State Comic Con.
Oh,
This is the first
quite-
convention.
Yeah, this is Scott Shaw, who we did an interview with earlier in the month.
Yeah.
oh.
Yes, he's one of the guys I met back in 1971.
Yes.
That looks
and
like
I knew-
Scott.
That looks like. Is that Scott?
Yeah, that's Scott. I knew Scott because when I was in high school, Los Alamitos High School, Scott drew for the Fullerton newspaper, did a comic strip. So I called him up from Seal Beach where I lived. I called him up and I said, he's a professional cartoonist. I never met a professional cartoonist. So he's actually the first professional cartoonist I met.
Oh, wow.
And,
Good
I
place
went
to
over-
start.
yeah, well, anyway. So so Scott, when I got there to San Diego, I met John Pound and all these other people. And anyway, so yeah, I was in the clique, I guess.
I found these photos interesting because, everybody pictures San Diego Comic Con now that's, 167,000 people as of like last
it's
year.
a zoo now.
But the first one was like 300 people.
Yes. And the second one was probably 500, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I think that's Richard Elf.
Looks like him, yeah.
Richard Elf.
So.
That's a good jumping off point because we can talk about the people that founded Comic Con, which were Richard Alf, Shel Dorf,
and Ken Kruger.
And Mike Townry.
Well, the 6 kids who helped Shel were Richard, who was 17, Mike Towery, who was 16, Barry Short, who else was there?
Was Scott part of that crowd?
Yeah, Scott Shaw was in that group, I think. And anyway, there was a whole, 6 kids basically started the convention with Shel. And Richard. Richard gets credit for being co-founder because he had money. Shel didn't have any money to speak of, and Richard had a thriving mail order comic book business, so he was able to, keep it going. Because the early days of the convention, they weren't sure after the convention was over, they weren't sure if they were going to have enough to do it next time. That's Ray Bradbury.
Yeah, who was him and Jack Kirby were the first guests, right?
Wow.
Yes.
That's what got my attention and made me want to go to the first one I went to.
Yes.
And I also met Scott Shaw at that one. I met Scott and Bill Stout and, as Phil mentioned, John Pound, Mark Evanier.
Yes. Can't
The
forget
usual suspects.
And this is from the third con, right?
And I like the way that at the end it says underground comics artists. Doesn't give any names, it just says underground comics artists.
Whoever shows up.
Yeah. We're not important.
Oh, just not known yet.
Yeah.
Well, Yeah. And there's the woman, which is really
I was thinking that's
really rare.
I'm not sure.
Wow.
Oh, there's a bunch. Yeah.
There's
This is
the,
for-
I
yeah.
guess that there actually
74.
were somewhere.
We got some cosplay going on here.
By
Yeah.
74, it was turning into a real convention with continuing things like the costume contest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember Brinky Stevens.
Oh, there's I think
75.
there's Will Lund
Yes.
in
Oh,
wow,
Flash Gordon. Yeah.
Pacific Comics. Steve and Bill Shanus. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Pacific Comics.
I don't know what that is, but here's a picture of Scott, John Pound in the front. I think that's Richard on the right. I'm not
Yes.
sure who the other people are.
Not sure.
Roger,
It's a lot of hair, though.
Roger Friedman. Roger Friedman
Yeah.
between John and Scott.
Okay. And 2 guys in the back.
Yeah.
I don't
As it
know.
just captioned, 2 guys in the back.
And nowadays we
And
would look
two
at this
guys
and go,
in the
name this band.
Yeah.
Now these next couple of slides are kind of interesting. This is the program that Jack Kirby did.
Oh,
Yes, I
yes.
think that was for the third one, second one, first one.
No, that was
This is
I
the
think
first
it was the second one. No,
this
third
is
one.
1979.
because this is the interior,
Oh,
1970.
Really? Oh, so that's the first one.
This is the first one, right? So this is the
That's
interior of
the
the
first
first
one.
program.
Ah,
And the first 2 slides were the cover, front and back, that Jack
wow.
Kirby did. So here you go.
Look at that great dinosaur at the desk.
The
So
indicia.
I had that first one somewhere.
Cameron
Collectors.
Ford, Ken Kruger.
Actually, Jack and Ray Bradbury signed it somewhere. I have it somewhere. Who knows?
I know.
In a box. Oh God.
Prized possession there.
Yeah. I look at it daily.
The box, that is.
Oh yes, Forey. I can't remember if Forey was a guest, but
Oh, that's right. For an Ackerman.
So again,
And
that's the
AE
interior, and then these are
Van
this is
Vogt
the
was
front
a guest.
cover.
What is that?
I don't know.
just random pages.
Was it just like, yeah, was there like a program or something? Or
Yeah, I think so. Here, Mike Towery, Dan Stewart, Barry Alfonso, Scott Shaw, John. Is that
Hull.
John Hull? John
Hull.
Pound,
Yep.
David and Steve.
McGlone.
I don't know. Dave
McCall.
Clark, Bud Jameson.
And then on the right, you got Sheldorf, you got Bob Sork, and
Yeah, I
Richard
don't
Alf.
know Bob. And Richard Alf.
Now, Greg Koudoulian, who couldn't make it today, has the archives for Shel Dorf and Richard Alf. So
Yes.
He has tons of stuff. So
he had to bow out though because he owns those archives, and apparently where they're stored, the roof has damage, so he's got to go fix the roof.
Yes.
So that's the logo for this one. So anyway, I just wanted to bring those up so that gives people some kind of taste of the covers and the convention itself. Bill, you had said your first one was 70. Steve, your first one was 71. And Trina, your first one was 77.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm a latecomer.
Yeah.
So if I just like from each of you, if you could just give me like a short story about the first convention you went to.
Yeah.
We'll start with Steve. Since I'm looking left to
Okay.
right.
I don't know if I have any stories, but it was the first convention I ever went to. I mean, I was still, let me see, 1971. So I was out of high school. But I lived in San Francisco, and this meant actually getting on a plane and going to another city and all of that. But the first one I went to was held at the San Diego, UC San Diego, which had apparently just been finished. They just built it and it wasn't open yet. So someone got the bright idea of having the convention there. So they put everyone up in the unused dorm rooms. So the whole thing was cheap. It was easy to get to, and it's my first experience with a convention of any sort. I mean, just trying to think. So I learned all about how, there are fans that would make artwork for the art shows, and you could make some money doing that, and that got me all interested in doing that sort of thing, because I think Bill Stout seemed to be the guy who seemed to own the art show, even in 1971. Anyway, in hindsight, it was such a small convention, but since it was at this school, it was like this private party almost, with all these like-minded comic fans. I don't remember any girls being there. There must have been. I think there was about 400 people. The highlight for me was, of course, listening to Jack Kirby talk and do sketches and all of that sort of stuff. And he had brought along a lot of his personal stuff that hadn't been published, and it was just fabulous stuff, way more interesting than the comic stuff. So that was my first inkling that you could actually do stuff that was even better than what was in the comic books. and I can't remember if Ray Bradbury was at that one or not. Was lucky enough to go to a lot of conventions that he was at. He's always interesting, of course. I don't know, not much of a story, but that was my first experience.
And 71 would have had about 800 people, from what I can find.
Really?
And Trina, you said you went in
certainly
77.
not all at once.
Now, here's some exponential growth. So from 71, from 70 was 300, 71 was 800.
Wow.
And by the time Trina got there in 77, it was let me double check my numbers, but
It was a huge thing already by that
But
point.
yeah,
It
by
still seems
77
like
it was
a
up to
private
4,000.
4,000. Wow.
4,000
At
by
the
time
El
Trina-
Cortez.
At the El Cortez, it still seemed like a private party. I have been to a number of local conventions, San Francisco and Berkeley, but this was definitely the biggest at the time. But it still did seem like a private party. I mean, everyone was hanging out at the pool. That was really the center of it.
It was great. Jack Kirby holding forth, and Gil Kane was up at the bar with Howard Jakin.
Well, I'm getting jealous.
Yeah. All these names. It's like, wow.
All the adults went up to the bar to get away from the younger fans who were buzzing around. But it's a very, very quiet, jovial atmosphere.
Which one are you talking about now?
Well, all of the ones at the El
Yeah,
Cortez.
the El Cortez was fantastic. Well, for the first time, I met people like C.C. Beck, and we stayed friends. We wrote to each other. And Heinlein, it was real. Just everyone, really.
Wait, name a few. Everyone was there.
Don Rico.
Except for you.
Don Rico.
Yeah.
Help me out, Steve. Who else was there?
Don Rico, great guy.
Yes.
Yes, Don Rico, one of the founders of CAPS.
And he also did the foreword to my first graphic novel in 77, Even Cazco Gets the Blues. And the reason for that is because I asked Sergio to do it, and Sergio said, no, you have to get Don Rico to do it. And I didn't know Don Rico, so Sergio took me to Don's apartment, and we met, and he just loved my book, and he wrote this glowing review or introduction that is totally off the wall. It's like so complimentary. It's just embarrassing, but hey, what the heck? So yeah, that was 77 was actually the first year I brought the graphic novel to the convention.
That was also the year that all the underground comics artists officially came to the convention.
The women's comics women came for the first time.
Oh, I sent a photo of all of it.
Oh, why don't we? Yeah.
If we can dig that one out somewhere.
I'm getting it. 1 second.
As Michael looks through the archives. There you go.
There it is. Oh, no, not that one.
No.
Women.
No, that's later. Here
That one, that one.
we are.
It's an oddly, so
Yes, that's me.
Brian
Melinda Gebby.
Norell, Melinda Gebby, Palmer Vredes. Isn't that Bob Foster?
Bob
Roger-
Foster,
Roger May, Trina,
Hey.
Larry Ribby behind her.
Yeah.
Shel, of course, back there.
Carol Lane.
Carol Lay, that's me.
Wow.
Wow.
And if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see there's somebody lying across their lap
Oh,
there.
yeah.
That's Harvey Kurtzman.
Oh my God.
I can't see it.
I don't know.
Oh, it's cut. It's
I don't know if
cropped.
people, you can see the blue butt on the left and the
The
back.
blue butt, Bob Foster's got the.
And I don't know what is this.
I couldn't
what's
find
the
the
narrow
picture
here?
where where you can actually see Harvey. But
Yeah.
In a drawing of some
Yeah.
sort,
Oh, I like that skeletal.
a jam.
Yeah.
That has to be me.
oh,
Yeah.
you can see there's Annie Fanny in there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, there's one by Trina with the yellow hair there.
Yeah.
Bob Foster's Moose.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So,
I got to spend a lot of time with Bob Foster at Comic Fest, either last year or the year before last,
That's great.
because Comic Fest is like the old days in San Diego. You know, it's just a very small group.
that was the last convention that we actually were at back in February with Phil
Yeah.
and Scott Shaw and many others. Sergio decided to play it safe and stay
Oh.
home. Probably a wise decision on his part. But Bill Sienkiewicz was there.
And I think Mike Royer was there, and
Yes, Barry Fleener.
Roberta
Very
Gregory,
clear.
Barbara
And-
Mendez.
Yeah, Barbara Mendez. Roberta, was Donna Barr there? Probably.
Oh,
Yes,
yes. Oh,
yes.
yeah.
We had Chinese food at a very nice Chinese restaurant sitting next to Phil and his group. I remember that.
Oh yeah, I sort of remember that too. God.
It's all a blur. It's all so many conventions.
Yeah, that's the thing. We've been to so many conventions over the years. It's hard to remember which one was when. You know, who was there? What were we doing? But anyways, it was great. It was a great time.
So for each of you, is there like a particular guest you can remember that? I mean, I know you guys are obviously working professionals, so you're guests for other people, but as a fan, were there guests that you like particularly enjoyed seeing there?
Actually, if you bring up some of the pictures that I sent off, there's one in there that technically was a picture of Neil Adams who was drawing, but the second one.
Oh.
But I was just a young fanboy, and the tall guy off on the left is me. So
Oh,
Yeah, they
this
are.
is
okay, you're here.
that was the last time I had short hair.
I think isn't that Brent Anderson or
Craig Anderson.
Craig Anderson? That's right.
Craig Anderson. Yes, standing next to me. Neil's on the couch, and I don't recognize the other people.
Oh.
But there have been a lot of really interesting guests at San Diego Con over the year.
Here. There is a caption to this. Neil
Oh,
Adams
there it
seated
is.
on the right sketching. Michelle Meddy seated on the left next to Neil. Craig Anderson standing second from left with beard. Boston artist Robbie Campbell in white cowboy hat is crouching or kneeling behind couch.
I'm not mentioned because I was just some guy who wandered past and got in the picture.
Boston artist Roger Kunchik in light gray and glasses standing right by Adams, and you are question mark.
You are a question mark.
Yes, I'm the question mark.
All right.
Enigma.
But
Enigma.
over the years, there have been all sorts of interesting guests. Like, of course, now I can't think of them. Like Frank Capra or Timothy Leary.
Timothy Leary was very
That was
interesting
unexpected.
guest.
Yes, unexpected.
Unexpected.
Who else? I mean, eventually, the actors started coming. Hollywood discovered the San Diego Con, and it started to get more commercial, and people
It all
would
went
actually
downhill
go up.
from there.
But
Do you remember about when that was?
which one?
Oh,
Who?
do you
What year?
when like Hollywood started kind of coming in with all the celebrities and everything?
I met
Well,
Bill Mooney and Miguel Ferrer in the early '80s. They were just fans who came down to check out the comics.
Yeah.
But slowly, and actually Mark Hamill would come down because he was a comics fan.
Oh yeah, he's a big fan. Yeah.
He'd kind of keep a low profile, but he'd show up. But it was a while before they were showing up officially.
Oh.
Somewhere in the '80s. John, what was the first time you went?
My first time was actually in '91. I was 21 years old, and this is the first con that was actually at the convention center. The convention center was brand new that year, and they only used half of the bottom floor. It wasn't even the full thing yet. So
I remember that. Yes,
I went with I don't know if you guys remember Deb Aoki.
Oh yes, of course.
Yeah. So Deb kind of dragged me up there.
Still in touch.
Yeah. And I know I hung out a lot at Phil's booth.
I remember that.
Yeah, but yeah, it was definitely like a lot smaller, and it was easier to kind of like navigate and talk to everybody. Yeah, but it's it definitely was big for me. It was still a big thing. I think the person who was being featured that year, I think it was Dave Stevens. I think.
What year was that, John?
Dave Stevens from the
what
Rocketeer.
Year?
I think that was 91.
I can double check. I have.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
Yes, and he was one of the early. He was one of the early artists that I met, like in the very early '70s, as one of the fellow young band artists.
He's from San Diego originally.
Yeah.
Oh. Originally, Dave is from San Diego.
Oh.
And Dave and John Pound and Scott Shaw and then Dave moved up to LA. In fact, he shared a studio with Bill Stout for a while, right around the corner from where Alfredo used to live, Alfredo Alcala. Yeah. I was at Alfredo, and I was going to see Alfredo a lot when I was, starting in the 70s when Alfredo first arrived.
One thing that I really remember back then that I obviously they don't have it anymore or anything, but I remember Bud Plant had a huge area with all of his books and everything, and that was just wonderful to look through and finding all these great treasures of collections and books and everything. But yeah,
I think he was there from the very beginning.
Was he? Yeah.
I think he was, because he was one of the first comic shop, or one of the first guys to run comic shops when that was a new thing. Back starting in the late '60s. I don't know when exactly they started, but in the San Francisco area, Bud Plant was one of the guys who had an actual comic book store.
Yeah.
And so he started that mail order business. I forget. The years just blur together. But
I know.
He was one of the early guys involved in this stuff. So.
Oh, and I think my roommate was Todd Kurosawa.
Ah.
Yeah. So got all the Hawaii people together,
I just want to say I'm tracking correctly. So, Phil, your first one was as an attendee, and then you went the second year as a guest. Is that correct?
Well, I didn't go as a guest, but I went had my own table or whatever.
A vendor, okay. Artist alley.
Yeah.
Phil always went his own way.
I don't think I was. I wasn't a guest. It was quite a while before I became a guest.
And Trina, your very first one, you went as an artist, right? You didn't go as a.
I was a guest. I was a guest at the '77 one. Yes.
And how was that? How was that experience?
Yes, they did. No, they actually flew me down and put me up.
Oh, nice.
And then Steve, obviously you were an attendee first.
Yes, I went. I don't know, 4 or 5 of them. I started working for Marvel Comics in 1975, and managed to convince them that I was a professional in 75. So I've been, if not a guest, at least they would let me in, and I could get an artist alley table. So
see.
It worked
Alan
out
Lowe.
fine.
See, Alan Lowe says that the first time he went was
Yes.
with Dave Thorne in 1981. He
Ah,
was at the old convention center, the Hotel
Yes,
San
when-
Diego, and the El Cortez. Yeah.
When Dave Thorne showed up with all the Hawaiians, that was
Yes.
particularly nice.
Yeah.
To meet all those guys. And I can't remember when Stan Sakai showed up, but he wasn't part of that
He
group.
was-
but of course,
he was
that's part of
actually In
very early.
Stan came over. He came over to Caps, I think about 78 or 77, right when we
About
started Caps. Stan was in it. So he moved from Hawaii to make his way in comics. So it was a little rocky, but
yeah.
he's doing some book now about a rabbit.
Yeah, I remember back then he had a strip about a rabbit. So
Yeah. I don't know whatever happened to him.
I'm going to bring up some of Phil's photos and just kind of maybe we can jump off of there. Okay.
sounds good.
So let me see what Phil has sent us.
Oh, this is a bag. Dave Scroggie used to run a trade show as part of before the convention, before the actual Comic-Con. There was a trade show. So this was a bag that Dave asked me to draw. So we promote reading. So for a while, this was a program. I don't know what year it was, but anyway, this is for the disabled.
92, it said.
92, yes, 92. So this was for the disabled people.
Alan Lowe is asking if that's Stan Sky's rabbit, Patrick Rabbit. He's like obviously pulling your leg, but
Yeah, it was. Yeah. No comment.
I should have worn my Patrick Rabbit shirt. I've got one.
This is a great picture. This
There's
was
a nice
taken
Oh,
picture.
there's Ron.
Kleban,
Cleveland.
An-
And
Oh,
another
This-
favorite
this
guest,
And Ron Turner.
and Ron Turner.
and Ron Turner. And this year, what happened was my friend Oliver Christensen, who goes by
Right.
the name Revilo, Oliver backwards. Well, Oliver went to Cal State Long Beach, where I went. And so Oliver said to me, we were at San Diego, and we went to he said, come to the pool. And I sat there on the pool, and Oliver introduced me to Cleveland, and we just talked for hours.
that's
It was
wonderful.
great. It was a great experience.
Cleveland is really known over here for his cat designs. I mean, even in
Yeah.
Hawaii, they still keep coming out with
Yes.
new designs.
Now,
Yes.
this is something I meant to ask about because eventually San Diego Comic-Con became like the industry standard and where they did the industry awards. When did that start coming about? Like this is the Inkpot Award, right?
It started
Yeah.
very early on, but that cute little thing that Phila is holding there, that was much later.
Yeah.
So
And
I
this
just got
is a better inkpot.
a simple plaque.
Me too. Me too. I want one like that. I want to trade mine in.
You have to cash in 5 of
I
those.
got
for
this-
the one
At the 40th San Diego convention, they gave me an inkpot, which is totally a surprise. And it was a good inkpot because Rick Urey has designed a beautiful, really nice.
It's very
Lord.
nice.
Yes.
Phil, I heard you were speechless when you got it because you were so surprised you got one because you thought you were
I
up
was.
against the cameraman for 5 years or
Wait.
No idea.
I don't think Phil could be speechless. I
he
don't believe
was.
No, I was speechless. This is a shot with Alfredo, and Alfredo, every year we go down to San Diego, we bring Alfredo, and this is my son who's 38 years old now.
Oh man, Jesse,
my middle son. So, you know, this has to be like, I don't know, 95 maybe. I don't know. Who knows?
That looks like Scott Shelby with the Aloha shirt.
This comments from Alan Lowe about the Inkpot Award.
Were they running out of eligible recipients? Probably. Yeah, big fish. And this is a picture of Joe Shuster with our unicorn character, played by oh God, what's his name?
Was it RC?
No, this was not RC. This is William Mitchell. Mitchell, who played him, and that's Joe Shuster, the artist of Superman.
Yeah, nice.
That was one of the highlights of those early conventions, being able to meet guys like Joe Shuster. I remember I did a drawing. They would have auctions at the pool, and everyone would draw stuff. And I did a drawing standing next to Joe Shuster, who did, of course, Superman. And he's got the most money of any drawing at the convention. It's
it's interesting to think about, because, like, this is not meant to be an insult, but you guys are considered like old timers now. Schuster would have been in the business for over 30 years at the time of the first convention.
I think he was younger than we are now.
Yes. Well, at my first convention, I remember meeting all these old guys, and I thought, wow, Jack Kirby, he's old. And I met Vern Hogarth, and I thought, wow, he's still alive.
Vern Hogarth, wow.
Now I'm older than all of those guys were at the time, so your perspective tends to change a bit as the years go by.
Kevin Eastman.
Mutant Ninja Turtles. Yeah. Very nice.
And that's Mort. John's in this picture. That's Mort Drucker.
Oh yeah, that was me like 50 pounds later.
Wow.
With my vest.
And Paul Chadwick has drawn a concrete. Kevin Morinaka, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then he's drawing Alfred E. Newman
on a newspaper.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the San Diego Union Tribune. That's how we know we're in San Diego.
Yeah. You know, the year that Mort Drucker was there, it just happens I was up there, and I was a little bit like feeling kind of guilty because I was supposed to be, I was kind of like, I should have saved money and all that. But then the year that Mort Drucker was there, my hero, Monkey Punch, who did the manga artist who did Lupin the Third, was there because Mort was his hero. So he flew over from Japan just so he could meet him. And so because of that, that's how I met Monkey Punch. So it was kind of nice how everything fell in place,
Yeah.
Monkey Punch came to some San Francisco conventions, and inexplicably we all went out, had drinks and stuff, and just hung out with Monkey Punch. It was very unusual, but fascinating and amazing. The kind of stuff that sometimes happens at conventions.
Yeah.
So there's a front-on shot of Mort, right?
Yes, that's the only shot we have. I think his eyes are closed, but anyway. Hey, there's another one with myself and William Mitchell.
And who?
William Mitchell used to work for us.
Okay.
He's not really famous, but anyway.
Oh,
how old were you in this photo, Phil?
He's 12.
Probably
my eyes may be going, Phil, but I thought that was a woman wearing the unicorn hat.
I thought the same thing.
No, it's a guy.
Okay.
Well, maybe it's a girl. I don't know. Why are people picking on me?
Moving on.
Okay.
That's Heidi Mcdonald.
Yes.
And Nick Carty.
Oh,
Oh, no, George
that's
Gladdier.
George Glatter.
oh, George Glatter.
George Glatter, who wrote for
Very-
Archie comic books and put me into Archie comics.
Yeah.
And Heidi Mcdonald, who used to write for me before she became famous.
That's right. You guys did the book on Alfredo.
Yes, we did. And that's
Oh, look at
old
that guy.
Oh God.
I'm not used to seeing Phil without the cowboy hat.
Yeah, for some reason I didn't have it on there, but anyway.
He still got the bushy hair though.
Yes.
Yes, you were a long-haired hippie when I first met you,
Yes.
as was I.
I think we're all long-haired hippies. And this
Oh.
is the picture: Roger Armstrong, his wife Alice, and that Shel Dorf, and a banquet. And I threw that in because Shel founded the con.
It showed
Roger Armstrong drew a number of strips: Napoleon, Scamp for Disney.
Scamp.
Very lively
But-
stuff. Very nice stuff.
He's a great watercolorist as well. This is
Wow.
again, and that's 1980 because I have the dragon that Alfredo and I did together. And Alfredo is probably there underneath the table. we would bring him every year to San Diego, and Alfredo would go to sleep underneath the table. And
I
then
remember
if
that.
somebody came up to the table and wanted to meet Alfredo, I say, "Oh, Alfredo," and I wake him up, and he'd get up and he, meet people. I think we have a picture of Alfredo meeting Stan Lee coming up. Well, that's Ray Bradbury, of course. And this is my friend Ruggiero, who later went to work for Disney and DreamWorks and all these people.
Oh.
But at the
I
time, he was,
remember.
he was a
remember.
young hippie. And this is the picture of Stan Lee meeting Alfredo at the convention. And so Alfredo would always come out from underneath the table, and he always act, oh, yes, he always act like natural, but he was always asleep.
He used to work really, really long hours.
Yeah, he worked 20 hours easily. He never slept in the bed, ever. I don't know if that's a good thing or bad, but it's, the truth.
He lived in San Francisco for a while, and we went to visit him, and he just, he had the TV on. He was inking away. He was inking a Conan job over Buscema, and carrying on a conversation and explaining the world of art. It was all fabulous stuff.
So
This was in the 70s, something like 77, something like that.
Yes, when he first arrived, and he finally settled in Los Angeles.
I can bring up the photos that Greg sent, but obviously we don't have Greg here to go over them. So if we don't know what they are, just let me know to skip over it. Oh, this is the Sheldor Memoriam kind of thing.
Oh yeah, when he passed away. So it's sad to say this, but Shel Dorf didn't attend his own convention the last few years. He really felt the convention had gone the wrong direction, And so he was
Well,
kind of like,
let me ask each of you about that then, because this one's something we were curious about. It's like, what do you guys think of the way it's changed over the time? Because we noticed like there used to be more focus on the creators and the publishers, artists, writers, etc. And then, you talk about Hollywood coming in, and now, like I went to the conventions in the late 80s, early 90s when comics were still on the main floor. And now obviously they're shunted off to the side rooms. So what do you guys make of that?
Well, really, the Comics Fest, which, as Steve pointed out, was the last one we went to before the lockdown. The Comics Fest is very much the way San Diego used to be. And I love it. It's one of my favorite cons. And the San Diego con now is just, I go, of course, and especially because sometimes I'm up for an award and I do panels. But the main floor, which is just jammed, and all like you say, all the movie stars and TV stars, I just stay away. I completely stay away from that part.
It almost feels like the artists are kind of pushed in the corners, like
They
in
are
the
pushed in
main
the
literally
literally,
it's like the life size X-wing fighter or something like that, and
because you talked about Bud Plant earlier, and I know they stopped going maybe 10 or 12
years ago.
And then Mile High was one of the last stalwarts in the comic side to just say we're done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
they can't really afford it because, first of all, the booths are so expensive and the hotels are just ridiculous. So
that's the hardest part, is finding a place to stay.
yeah, because
Unless
the hotels, they rack up the prices.
Well, they fill up at 8 months ahead of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like in January already, it's like it's filling up, and if you miss it, then that's it. It's filled up.
I think the main thing is if you have a convention you have a convention and you say movie stars are going to be there, that's great, and it's going to get a huge crowd, but it really doesn't have much to do with comic books or comic artists because we're not movie stars. So, I can't fault San Diego for putting on the show that they do, but I particularly don't enjoy it. I go every year. I go and I say this is my last one. For 30 years, I've said that. But since when Mike Towery started Comic Fest, he came up to my house in Running Springs. He came up here with Wendy, and we sat down, and he said he wants to start a new convention like the old San Diego. And I said, Mike, do it. I'll help you. I'll do what I can to promote it. And, it was great because Comic Fest has really caught on. It's a great convention. It's small. It's, artists can actually talk to each other, talk to the fans, but, it's not because there are no movie stars. And that's the secret. So if you have movie stars, you have a lot of people, but you're not going to get, last year or 2 years ago or something, I said to somebody who was in line outside, I said, what are you in line for? Because he was in another line, not to get in, but another line. And he said he was lined up to get a Star Wars Christmas ornament. Think about it. A Star Wars Christmas ornament. He was in line that stretched, like a long line. And I thought, what am I doing here? It's like, it's just, okay. Great.
Okay, let Phil. Are you done, Phil?
Yes.
Okay, all right. No, that just reminded me of the San Diego Con in 1976, which was the first one where they were promoting the not yet released new film Star Wars, and there was no lines at all. They no lines whatsoever. So
That's great.
Yeah.
at the Hotel Fendi, at the El Cortez. So keeping it on theme here.
Yeah.
Let me ask a related
that
question.
movie.
Let me ask a related question, and with the Hollywoodization and all that, what do you guys think of the cosplay element that's kind of really taken off?
I'm okay with it as long as they don't knock you over.
That sounds like there's a story there, Steve.
Oh, well, they just have these big elaborate costumes and they go through the aisles and it could be pretty challenging. Sometimes it gets a bit out of hand, but generally I'm fine with it.
Me too.
Ralph's Comic Kingdom.
I like seeing people, enthusiastic people dressing up. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's Richard Elf.
Oh, he's got a red stapler.
with a tie.
I don't know what that's a picture of, but looks good. Oh, this is a time capsule.
And that was open last year, right?
Yes. For what reason, I don't know.
50th anniversary.
Yes. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
And that's Sheldorf. What is that? Oh,
San Diego Society for Creative Fantasy. Again, these are Greg's pictures, so I'm not sure what they are. We can just,
Oh, there you go. There's Greg.
and there's Steve Jeppy, and Mike Royer is on the
Mike
end.
Royer, Bill Morrison. Is that
I don't know.
Elliot Magan on the end, writer?
Well, this is from the 1974.
I think the drawing is by C.C. Beck.
it
The
could be.
signature on the bottom.
Certainly looks. I'm trying to see if I can see a signature anywhere.
Looks like it might be by Scott Shaw or somebody.
Oh, okay. Who knows?
Greg
Although
was
Scott usually signs it, so who knows?
Yeah. Oh, but that looks like the same image. Oh, this is probably like just promo material.
Some promo material.
I think this is Greg Koudoulian. Greg had his own convention.
Yeah.
Why is this in here? I don't know. This is
They must be
Rich
related.
Elf
Oh.
at his store, Comic Kingdom.
And
And
there's
this is
Phil.
me. Oh, that's Richard Elf, and that's Greg, and that giving me an award, a plaque or whatever.
Yeah, the Shel Dorf
Yeah.
Award, right?
I'm shocked. I don't know. That's Richard Elf and Greg.
More
is that?
talking.
Is that Richard? Who's on the left?
It says Matt Lawrence, but it's not. It's
Is
not
that
Matt.
Starking? No.
No, it's
That's a
Lawrence.
tricky perspective, though. That's probably the person that's actually to the left of the person that we see.
Yeah. No, Matt must be
Yeah.
sitting off to the side, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, that's a picture of Richard Elf, who passed away. That's Richard Elf and another, I don't know, Steve? I don't know.
Can you zoom into the badge? I don't know. I don't know.
I can, but I don't think you'll be able to read it.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's that guy. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't do that CSI thing where it says like
Let's make up a name.
all right. So that's what Greg had sent me to go through.
Oh,
That's weird because Greg actually has pictures of, like Gil Kane and Carmen Infantino and
Well, here's,
All
here's,
kinds
here's
of-
what I can do to kind of spark some memories for you folks. Let me go through and read off some of the guests from the early conventions. So here in 70, the listed guests were Forrest Ackerman,
He
Ray
was
Bradbury,
a semi-regular.
Ray Bradbury, Jack Kirby, Bob Stevens, and A.E. Van Voigt.
Oh,
A.E. Van Vogt. Yes, he a science fiction writer. Forey Ackerman was actually his agent.
Yes.
But yes, he was a guest early on.
And in 71, they added Kirk Allen,
Kirk Allen,
Ray-
the Superman.
Yeah, he was the first Superman.
Leigh Brackett,
Yes, she wrote the second Star Wars movie, amongst
Oh.
many others.
Oh,
Edmund Hamilton.
He wrote tons of comics, as well as science fiction stuff.
In 72, they added Bob Clampett,
Another regular.
Harry Harrison,
Yes. Author and early comic book artist.
Catherine Kurtz,
Oh,
Mel Lazarus,
oh, Mel Lazarus, Mama, Miss Peach.
Roy Thomas, and Milt Gray.
Sounds good.
73, they would have added Neil Adams, DC Fontana,
Yes. Star Wars, the brains behind Star Wars. Well, along with Gene Roddenberry.
Star
June
Trek.
Foray,
What was the last name? Say it
June
again?
Foray,
Yes.
yeah.
Everybody's favorite.
Mike Friedrich.
Yeah,
he's
Mike.
the writer. Yeah. Carmen
He was the
Infantino.
publisher. He was the publisher of DC.
Carmine was, yes, at the time.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting to see who were some of the earlier guests. 74, they added Maydell Barrett, which would have been Mrs. Roddenberry, right? Maydell Barrett Roddenberry.
Yes. So you can
Milton
see early
Cannon.
on they started having Hollywood type guests, but it didn't really take over.
Right.
Okay, I'm sorry, Milton
years.
Cannon.
Who else
Frank
is
Capra.
on the list?
Yeah.
Milton
Yes,
Cannon, Frank
that was
Capra,
unexpected.
Chuck Jones,
Oh,
Walter Koenig, more Star Trek. Russ Manning,
that's many.
Russell Myers, Charles Schultz,
Oh,
Yeah.
all the comic strip artists.
I missed that one.
and Larry, quote unquote, Seymour Vincent.
Horror host
Oh,
in LA, I think.
All right.
Yeah. He was, like Elvira, only he was a man. I don't know what to say.
You know, that creates a very strange visual in my head. 75, they added Robert Bloch,
Yes.
Roadblock.
Bill Eisner.
okay. Oh, Eisner.
I'm assuming all of you had a chance to meet Will Eisner.
Yes. Yes.
Can you tell me something about him? Because I'm fascinated by that guy.
Trying to think of something outside of he was very nice. He's monumentally encouraging to the business because he was interested in the retail side of it as well as the artistic side. And he was one of the people promoting a more professional approach for the comic shops. Phil mentioned the retailers convention that was often held right before the official convention started. And I know Will was really involved in that. So
Sorry, I just catching up on some of the comments.
I'm just remembering Doug Wildey and Steranko,
Oh,
Yeah.
other
So that was
Popular.
in 75, right?
Yes.
Mark Evanier, Gil Kane, Jack Katz, Stan Lee, Dick Moores, Chuck
Yes,
Norris.
Dick Morris. Yes, I remember Chuck Norris.
Chuck Norris.
Don Rico,
Don Rico, great guy.
Jerry Siegel,
Yes.
Jerry Siegel created Superman.
Started the business in
Yeah,
a manner of speaking. I mean,
and got ripped off.
Jim Starlin, Jim Steranko, and Theodore Serchin.
Yeah,
And then when they
Ted-
moved to the El Cortez, they added Jack Mahoney and George Powell.
Oh, I remember Jack Mahoney. I remember Alan Weiss chatting with him about some of his roles. So
76 looks like it was Sergio Aragona's first one, as a guess.
I think Sergio was at quite a few of them, although I can't imagine that was his first one as a guest.
76.
I'm sure he was there earlier.
yeah,
Mel
I
Blanc.
think he was. He was probably there in 72. I believe.
Okay.
We would ask him, but he's not online.
One of these
doesn't do
times I'll
social
figure out a way
media.
to get him online with me. I don't know.
I have no way of knowing how to do that. His wife is online, but Sergio is anti the Facebook and email and
He did
all
did
that
about a little over an hour interview with Mark Evanier a couple months back. You can find on Mark Evanier's channel.
well, yeah, he knows Mark. He probably is forced into it.
Let's see. Still in 76. Dale Messick, Joe Schuster, Noah Sickles.
Oh,
That was a
yeah.
particularly nice year for me. I was a huge Noel Sickles fan, and so it was great to see him. He and I can't remember if Milton Caniff was at the same one. I think so.
Oh.
Yeah, Milton Caniff was at the same one.
I remember there was Chalk Talk where Caniff and Noel Sickles were both up there. I think Caniff did all the talking, and Sickles, who didn't want to talk, just did a drawing for everyone.
Wow. For
But
everyone.
it was nice.
That's how John and I do panels too. I talk, he does the drawing.
Yeah.
Don Thompson and Maggie Thompson.
Ah, yes.
Don Thompson was really an advocate for my work, especially in the Comics Buyer's Guide. He was a great, he reviewed a lot of the small press stuff. So if you weren't Marvel and DC, you tend to get lost in the shuffle.
And of course, Don and Maggie Thompson, along with Dick Lupoff, sort of started comics fandom.
Yeah.
And coming into 77, we add Carl Barks, C.C. Beck.
Yes.
Carl Barks.
C.C. Beck was a very interesting guy. He brought his guitar and would sing naughty tunes.
But they weren't very naughty.
No, they were just risque, but
Risque. It's a
very interesting guy. He was terrific.
Trina, tell us about C.C. Beck.
Well, it was great. He had a group of people that he corresponded with, and I was one of them. And it was really nice, He was just a great guy. It was a pleasure.
He did a painting for Trina of
Oh, yes.
Mary Marvel. That's one of our
Oh.
one of her prized possessions, but I get to look at it all the time.
Oh.
so I'm serious. Still in 77. Walter Gibson.
Oh yes, creator of the Shadow.
Creator of the Shadow. Robert Heinlein. Michael Kaluta.
Ah yes, his first visit, I think.
Jack Kirby.
he was a
Yeah.
perennial guest. He was always, I think he went to all of them.
Klebon, but they just have B. Klebon. They don't put the first name.
Yes. Well, he never used his first name.
He went by Hap.
Yes.
That was his nickname or whatever. I don't know how he got the name Hap. Do you guys know?
I think it was just because he didn't want to use his first name, so anything would fit for him. But he was terrific. He was very funny. I mean, he would spend a lot of time at the conventions for drawing cats, which is what people wanted to see.
So this is
And I
pre-internet.
always
They show women
remember-
cats.
Yes, and if it was a pretty girl, he'd put stripes on the cat, so it would take longer to
It
draw.
would take longer. Yeah.
So,
There you go. Professional tip.
Yes.
Where was I? It's Joe Kubert or
yes,
Harvey-
I remember
Dave
the
Thorne met Joe Kubert.
Kuberts. I remember they rented a van, and they toured the country. It was he and his wife and their two young sons who were, I think, still teenagers at the time, Adam and Andy, and they stayed at Sergio's house. They pulled their giant vehicle into Sergio's front yard, and I think they lived there for a week.
That's right.
Anyway, they had-
That year, Dave Thorne came, and Dave Thorne got to meet the Kuberts, and he ended up going to Sergio's house. I don't know if he went with them but anyway, he left San Diego and he went up to Sergio's place. Sergio
Wow.
at the time lived in Hollywood before his divorce.
It was a fabulous house
Yeah, really
on-
nice house.
on Sunset
In fact-
Boulevard.
Here's another Hawaiian connection. He's at his house. He had a pool house, and Don Dougherty lived in the pool house. And after Sergio left because they were getting divorced, Don Dougherty stayed in the pool house.
A little
Wow.
continuity.
Little small tidbit of, I don't know.
There you go. Little trivia there. Hey! I just looked up on Wikipedia why he was called Hap.
Oh, good.
Yes.
His birthday was on January 1st, so for Happy New Year, that's why he's Hap.
Oh, I thought that's where it was going to be like he was unintended, so they short for mishap.
Yeah. No, but that's what it says. It's for because his birthday was on January 1st, so Happy New Year.
Wow.
That makes sense.
Let's see.
Oh.
Back in '77, Harvey Kurtzman.
Yes.
Stan Lind.
Stan Lin was a good friend of mine. And actually, I loved Ricochet. And so I became really good friends with Stan. And when I started the tour, we would go to Montana, and we did a mural in Montana at the State Library in Helena. And Stan brought some other artists and Native American artists and cowboy artists. And we had a really good time. Really good time.
That sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
And Alex Nino.
Yes.
Yes. Alex, Steve and I both know Alex from early on.
I trying to remember when Alex first came over.
75, I think.
it might
74
have been
or 75.
I think it's 74 because I remember.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I tagged along, and we all went to visit Jesse Santos, who was living in
Yeah.
the Central Valley. I ended up hanging around with a bunch of the Filipino artists, which was fabulous. I mean, I mean, these guys all came out of left field. We knew nothing. Well, I knew nothing about comics in the Philippines at the time. And suddenly all these guys show up and they're just all amazing. And they started coming over in the early 70s, so we got to meet them. But yes, Alex was, I think 74. Byron Price arranged to get him over here, handling all the legal stuff. So.
Yeah, Byron was the good guy.
Let's see. 2 last names for 77 would have been Bill Scott.
Yes.
And Trina Robbins.
Yes, her first one.
First con.
There you go.
My first San Diego con.
Yes, Bill Scott of Rocky the Flying Squirrel fame.
Oh, okay. Voice actor.
How long have you been working in the underground scene before that convention, Trina?
Oh, well, the first comics that I did were in 1966 in New York, in the East Village for the East Village Elder. So, almost 10 years.
Wow.
Oh, I see Mog Parker's in the comments. Mog Park is a member of Comic Jam. She did the Comic Fest. I think it was last year.
What's the name? Didn't hear.
Mog Park. She's an illustrator. She did some work for like Game of Thrones and stuff like that. And she's doing.
Yes.
But she had done the Comic Fest last year when we could still do conventions in person.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
I remember those days.
Yes. That was the
Seems
convention.
so long ago now, right?
It does.
It really does.
Do you guys miss going to like all the cons? I mean, I know
Yes.
Comic Fest you miss, but all these other ones as well,
Yes, I do miss going to all those cons.
Quitting cold turkey was a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
So, I think I went to, I don't know, almost 50 San Diego cons in a row, and suddenly nothing.
Yeah. And how many cons would you do like in a year? Like how many events would you guys do in a year?
It seemed to work out for 4 or 5 maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
We try to not do too many. It can be exhausting, and you
Oh, yeah.
don't get any real work done. But it's great to get out to. I love going to cities that we haven't visited before. But like in the last couple of years, we did conventions in Detroit and Indianapolis, and Houston, Tampa, Miami. All over the place. So it's a lot of Hawaii, Maui.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's great.
I can't wait to do that one again.
Yeah.
In fact, the last place we went was we went to the Big Island and just hung out and did absolutely nothing. But back in February, right when all of this was starting to make the news. So
yeah, very cool.
So,
Well, you guys have also been around the world.
Yes.
Steve, Trina,
we've been lucky
where
enough.
have you been around the world?
Trina does a lot more conventions than I do because she's famous, but she gets into South America and Brazil,
Argentina.
Wow.
So we did a convention in China. That was great. Japan. So,
Alan has a question for Steve.
I do have family. My dad was Hawaiian, which means I have cousins literally everywhere. So,
They're Calabash,
Oh, I do. Many are, but so many.
I'm sure you do. Yeah.
I have many cousins that live on Oahu, Waianae side.
Okay.
On the Big Island, many cousins there. Actually, it's like I said, I was even on Molokai. I know there's cousins there that I haven't actually met.
Wow.
So, but yeah, many cousins.
All right. Well, if you need to contact your cousins, let me know because I'm on the Walmart side. Let's see. I'm just looking at some of the other history. I know it moved from El Cortez to the convention center in '79.
Yes, the place that was called the San Diego Convention Center, which was bigger but smaller than the current one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
That was part of the U.S. Grant Hotel. Is that correct?
it was up the street from there. It's still there. They have concerts and things. It's sort of midway between where the convention is held now and the old El Cortez Hotel.
Okay. Well, let me ask you about San Diego in the early years too, because like I was a young, I went through boot camp in the '80s, and downtown San Diego was rough.
Yeah.
It was. In the early days, I'll let Phil describe it.
Well, there was hardly anything there. There was no
It was a
really
Navy
good
town.
restaurants.
It was a Navy town.
Yeah, Horton Plaza didn't exist. It was Skid Row and tattoo parlors.
Yes,
really-
yes,
Tattoo parlors.
yes.
Yeah,
And
that-
sailoring.
Because like I said, I went through boot camp in '85, so I remember tattoo parlors, strip joints, and bars.
So yeah, that's about right.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yes, the where the convention is now, there was nothing out there except it was like rundown industrial,
Yeah.
largely empty lots, no longer used warehouses and stuff like that. And it's all been redeveloped over the years. It's changed a lot. Of course, it's been a very long time. It of course changed a lot over the course of 50 years. So,
Yeah,
Bill, it looks like you want to say something.
it's hard to imagine, but 50 years ago, San Diego itself was really just like a small town. And when you think about it now, looking at it, today's San Diego, it's night and day. It's completely
and a lot of that is due to the comic convention. I mean, it's
No
the biggest
question.
thing. It's the biggest thing that they've had going continuously every year for 50 years, and it brings in so many people that I think that encouraged all of that growth throughout the entire city. So changed the perception of San Diego. So
it changed the perception of comics.
yes, that too.
When you used to say comic books, it was really just you were a nerd. But now everyone's a nerd. Everyone. It's like it's incredible.
The fact that it's gone mainstream is it's still weird to me. I mean, there's Marvel movies. Who would have thought? We always wanted them, but the first ones were pretty awful. So
Yeah.
So, well, there you go. I think we're running out of
Yes,
things
I think
to say.
we are.
So
Yeah,
Okay.
it's been fun.
Well, we'll get ready to wrap up here. Before we do, though, let me give there's one thing I wanted to address because Trina, you had some artwork go missing. Do you want to talk about that?
Oh, but it's found.
Oh, good.
Found. Yes.
Fortunately. So
So you did get all the artwork back.
Yes.
managed to
Oh, it's good to hear.
work it out. So that one has a happy ending.
Yes.
Good.
Good. Well, we were going to give you a chance to put on notice if you needed it. So I'm glad we don't have to do that. We like to do you guys have anything you want to plug? Any projects you're working on now or anything like that?
No, nothing. Nothing at the moment.
Well, I do have a new book that came out very recently. Dr. Queen.
I just happen to have a copy right here.
Okay.
There it is.
just came out.
Oh,
Can't quite. Camera's not that great.
Graphics.
oh, the Queen.
Graphics. It's about the women who drew comics in the Jazz Age.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
It's
there's
a good example of
That's Nell Brinkley.
stuff falling out, but a lot of tons of illustrations.
Wonderful.
Well, that's great.
Alan has a question for Trina.
Oh,
Yes.
Clapper Queens.
Can you speak about being the first woman to draw Wonder Woman?
Oh. Well, I'm not. In 1970, Ramona Fraden was drawing Wonder Woman for Super Friends, but I did enjoy doing it when I drew her, which was, I guess, the mid 80s, 86.
Well, technically, she was the first woman to draw Wonder Woman in her own book,
True.
because Ramona was
Oh.
drawing her in Super Friends.
I see.
And
And I enjoyed it.
so that's fun.
I guess we can add this on to that. And her questionable pseudo-sexual origins. Do you have any thoughts on that?
What was that?
Her questionable pseudo-sexual origins.
Wasn't she made from clay originally?
Yeah, originally she's made from clay.
Oh,
Her mother, Hippolyta, who was the queen of the
Her two
Amazons,
mothers.
wants a baby. So the goddesses, Aphrodite and
Hera?
Hera, yes.
Minerva? I forget.
No, not Minerva, Hera.
Hera.
They instruct her to make one out of clay, and then Aphrodite breathes the breath of life into her. So really,
oh.
she has two mothers,
Or three.
or three mothers, yes, yes.
I
Oh.
think Alan may be referring to her creator.
Ah,
What about him?
all the rumors.
Which rumors?
Marcia.
About
Marston.
like the affairs and the bondage fetishes.
Well, okay, let me tell you, when I was a kid, I think from the age of 10 on, I was reading Wonder Woman, and I loved Wonder Woman, and I didn't see any bondage. If there was, it went over my head, and it went over the head of the kids who read it. We didn't see bondage. Guys see bondage. Guys love to talk about the bondage, but we didn't see it.
You don't see people talking about the cowboy comics as being bondage comics, but no, or maybe they do. I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
One thing is that Wonder Woman, if she is tied up, she breaks her own bonds. She frees herself rather than some guy freeing her.
I'm pretty liberal in my views, so no kink shaming here. So whatever you're into, folks. Okay, so Trina, you got that book? Steve, did you have anything you want to plug or?
I'm working on some stuff for DC that hasn't been announced yet, so
Oh, okay. Good.
I won't announce it here.
Yeah.
But I keep busy, so
Good.
it's in this day and age, it's good to have work. So
Absolutely. Yeah. And Phil, did you have anything you want to plug?
Well, I'm finishing up a new book of drawings, and it'll be out before the end of this year. It's my I don't know how to describe it. They're just, I get up in the morning and I just draw anything, and it's very
your ink
interesting.
sketches. Yeah, your ink sketches.
Yeah,
They're nicely done.
sketches.
yes,
Yeah.
I was thinking they remind me of Jack Gaughan's drawing.
Oh.
You remember him, science fiction illustrator?
No.
Did a ton of Ace covers, but he had pen work that reminds me of your drawings as well.
I think the term I would apply to Steve's recent or Phil's recent drawings would be stream of consciousness. Just kind of
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's what I'm doing.
very nice. Very,
Stream of consciousness.
That'd be a good title.
No planning.
Okay. And the other thing I'd like to leave folks with is if they'd like to watch or catch more of your stuff, where can they find you? Do you have a social media presence or Facebook, Twitter, anything like that?
Well, I keep a pretty low profile, but I do have Facebook.
And I have Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook. That's the best way. Well, I have a website, right, Linda?
Right?
Oh, wingtiger.com. I knew it.
There you go.
The website, which we haven't updated a lot, but anyway.
And Alan Lowe has one more question for Phil.
Where's Alan's picture?
Oh wait, speaking of pictures, there was
You're
one picture
done.
we didn't look at. Steve, if you could
Are you done yet?
tell us what we're looking at here.
Oh,
Oh,
This is I was in a band. We called ourselves Seduction of the Innocent. And behind those two people who are dancing, I'm not sure who they are, but no. Right behind Jack Kirby is me.
Jack.
That blurry person
Yeah.
behind
Yeah.
Jack is me. Max Allen Collins on keyboards. And then Miguel Ferrer behind the drum set there, and Bill Mooney on guitar. And that's, of course, Jack and Roz Kirby
That's wonderful.
dancing. So, photo by Jackie Estrada. So,
yeah.
that was a particularly
Wonderful.
fun moment.
I think I have a clue, but can you explain the band name?
Seduction of the Innocent is the name of the band.
Mm-hmm. And how did you guys come up with that? Like I said, I think I have a clue, but I'll let you tell it.
Miguel came up with it. We said, well, if we're gonna be a band, we should have a name. And he just immediately said Seduction of the Innocent, based on the book of the same name, of course. Seemed like an appropriate name for a comic book convention. Part of it was that all of us were working in comics in one way or another. At the time, Mumi and Miguel Ferrer were writing comics for Marvel and a few others. And Max Allen Collins was writing the Dick Tracy strip and Ms. Tree and a bunch of other stuff, as well as his prose novels. So hence the comic themed name. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with Seduction of the Innocent, but we have some younger folks in the group, so that might not know.
yes. Well, if they look up, they'll see it was a intended as a derogatory term for comic books, that it would rot the mind of the, I don't know.
Well, I mean,
poor gullible readers.
those people that look into stuff like the Comics Code Authority and stuff like that will.
Exactly. So
Okay. Well, with that, I'll thank everyone for giving us some time on Halloween. I hope you have a great rest of the Halloween.
Yeah.
thank you for having me.
thanks for having us. Good to
glad
see
you.
everybody. Phil, John,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael. Nice
And
to
I-
meet you.
John asked if we could hit Steve and Trina up for like some artist interviews later. We've done Phil before.
Sure, if you like. Sure. Just let us know.
Yeah. Be wonderful.
And thank you for your time. And we're
All right.
in the podcast.
Okay.
Let me just do this. We'll give everybody like 20 seconds. If you have questions, send them in. We'll see if anybody sends in a question, and then if not, we'll sign off.
Sure. Any last questions?
Any last questions?
Things you've been
chance.
dying to know?
Yeah. Need the dirt about the
Thanks,
con.
folks. Great seeing everyone. That's Alan.
Okay. I think
Because
we're good.
there's about a 20-second delay from what we say to what they see.
Oh, okay. Linda, do you have any questions?
Linda's been hanging out in the chat too, because I see her in there.
And hello to Linda, too.
Hi,
Yeah,
Linda.
Linda, come in
Linda.
frame. Linda, come in frame.
Here.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey.
Linda, when was your first convention?
That was when I met Phil, and that was in 2006.
I was wondering when that was. Which convention was that?
The San Diego Comic Con. Well, I didn't meet him at the convention. He brought me there, but
Yeah.
I met him
Yeah,
at the
it's never-
library.
and it hasn't been the same since.
No, it hasn't.
No, the convention falls on her birthday. So
Oh my
she
God.
has every reason to hate San Diego.
Most of the time it's fun, but Steve and Trina, you guys are some of the last people we saw before the quarantine because Comic
Yes.
Fest was the last weekend before the shutdown.
Yes,
That's right.
I remember a very nice Chinese meal. So
Yes,
Yeah.
and we were so naive then. We didn't really think that the
Oh, we had no idea.
yeah, I know.
I want to try to get to one of those one year.
Well, other than not being able to go out, has the pandemic really impacted your work schedules? I mean, most artists end up working at home these days anyway, right?
Yeah.
It hasn't affected our work schedule, but I mean, it does make, of course, getting out of the house a bit of a challenge. Our usual routine, because we work at home, is to go out for lunch so that we at least can get out into the real world for a bit.
Yeah.
And so that's been a little tricky, but otherwise it hasn't changed too much for us. So we're still here.
Yeah.
like I mentioned to Phil before we started, and I know Phil had just come back from a small vacation to see his grandkids, so he actually got out of the house.
We went up to see Linda's mother celebrated her 90th birthday in
Wow.
Oregon. So we went up to see her, and here, Linda, jump in.
It was an outside party, but the thing that was hard to, I guess, fathom is that my family in Southern Oregon doesn't wear masks because they have such a low count there, and I know they're going to get a higher count because they're not doing that.
Yeah.
So every place else we wore masks. Even we stayed at Phil's sister's in El Cerrito, and wore masks even in the house there because even though we drove, so we didn't see strangers as we were going up. But it was a little bit of a weird vacation.
Interesting. When was this?
Hawaii's been pretty good about masks.
But I don't know, the tourists are coming in and a lot of them aren't wearing the masks.
Well,
So there are still tourists coming in. So
Just recently they started kind of coming in. They kind of opened it back up. So
they're not enforcing masks.
I'm sorry?
They're not enforcing masks if people are walking around.
They're trying to, but not
Oh.
everybody's doing it. But
we're
yeah, because you know how it
requested
is.
to wear masks.
Yeah.
You know how it is. I'm on vacation. The rules don't apply to me because I'm on vacation.
yeah.
You know.
Yes.
I'm going to take
So,
I'll go ahead and end the cast. We don't have any questions coming in. I'm just going to hit
Okay.
and say goodbye, everybody.
okay.
Bye.
Okay.
Okay.